After the divisional round of the playoffs, we now have the first 28 spots of the 2023 NFL Draft all locked in. So the Bears are now on the clock, and this time around, I have them sticking with the pick. So, with the number 1 overall pick, the Chicago Bears select Will Anderson from Alabama. He's an absolute beast, and my number 1 prospect of this year's draft. If the Bears stick to the number 1 pick, I think they will make the call to get their hands on the Alabama edge rusher. At number 2, the Houston Texans select Bryce Young. He's a well-rounded prospect who could be Houston's quarterback of the future. However, the Texans do have an interesting decision to make with this pick. Moving on, the Cardinals take Jalen Carter from Georgia. Arizona's defense was one of the worst among the NFL, so adding a generational talent to the defensive line would be incredible, especially now that they'll be missing JJ Watt because of retirement. With the 4th overall pick, the Colts select CJ Stroud. They have to make the call if he's available at number 4. Stroud is miles better than any quarterback in this Colts team right now, and considering the top 2 defensive prospects are off the board, they shouldn't let Stroud slide any further down. At number 5, the Seattle Seahawks select Myles Murphy. This is so far the only pick in this mock draft that has been the same as my past one, and that's because I feel like Murphy in Seattle is a match made in heaven. The Seahawks defense was a liability, so they could address it in this year's draft. Why not getting Murphy here? Moving on, the Lions are taking Kelee Ringo. The Georgia player could make a case to be this year's best cornerback in a stacked class, and if that wasn't enough, Detroit desperately needs some help with the defense to potentially get into the playoffs next season. With the 7th overall pick, the Raiders pick Christian Gonzalez, by many considered to be this year's best cornerback, and he would be an amazing addition to this Vegas defense. I know they need a quarterback, but in this case, I think they'll sign a free agent, which is actually why I don't have them picking Will Levis here. At number 8, the Atlanta Falcons select Tyree Wilson. This team has been historically bad at getting to the quarterback in the last few years. Wilson would be a massive boost to the edge, and he seems like a safe pick here. Up next, the Panthers are taking Will Levis 9th overall. In my opinion, he's a boom or bust prospect, but the Panthers could use having another option at quarterback. They have some other positions of need, but if Levis lives up to the expectations, Carolina might as well be fighting for the division next season. Closing out the top 10, the Eagles select Bijan Robinson. They have Miles Sanders, who is a good running back, and they also have dual threat Jalen Hurts. But just imagine adding the best running back of this class to that mix. Philly's rushing attack would be unstoppable, and the Sanders-Robinson duo could become one of the most dangerous ones in the NFL. With the 11th pick, the Titans select Peter Skoronski. They have multiple holes in the roster, and O-line is certainly one of them. With Skoronski being arguably a generational talent at tackle, Tennessee would be making a mistake by letting him fall to any other team. Up next, the Texans are selecting Quentin Johnston. The TCU receiver is by many considered to be the best one in the class, and with Houston going for a QB with their first pick, why not give him a dangerous weapon right away? Moving on to the Jets, they select Anthony Richardson. Assuming they don't get a quarterback in free agency, they need to address the position in the draft. Richardson is the best QB available this late, and he could give this team the spark needed to take the next step. With the 14th overall pick, the Patriots take Jackson Smith-Njigba from Ohio State. New England desperately needs a wide receiver, and Jackson could easily climb up the depth chart to become Mac Jones' number 1 wideout sooner rather than later. At number 15, the Packers select Jordan Addison from USC. With Johnston and Jackson off the board, there are really not a lot of options here for the Packers. The defense showed some promise towards the end of the season, and the Addison plus Watson duo could be huge in the league. Moving on, the Commanders select Cam Smith. They need a cornerback to at least try and build around one of the few bright spots of this season, which was the defense. Smith is a good fit to Washington's scheme, and he has a lot of potential. Up next, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Joey Porter. The Penn State cornerback has a lot of talent and could fill up one of Pittsburgh's biggest positions of need. His father used to play with the Steelers, so they have a pretty good idea on the type of player they'll be getting. With the 18th pick, the Lions pick Brian Breezy. Some say he should be a top 10 prospect, and some say he shouldn't even be drafted round 1. However, with the potential he's shown and Detroit still needing some defensive help, picking Brian Breezy at 18 seems like a fair pick. Moving on, the Buccaneers select Paris Johnson. He could make his case as the best tackle of the draft, and if he's available this late, the Bucs should make the call immediately. They need some help with the O-line, and the Ohio State product is clearly a day 1 starter capable of doing some magic. At number 20, the Seahawks select Brian Branch from Alabama. They don't necessarily need to go for a defensive player here, but Branch is easily the most versatile prospect of this year's draft. He can be dangerous as both a safety and a corner, which would give Pete Carroll a lot of freedom in the defensive side of the ball. Up next, the Chargers select Trenton Simpson. LA's defense was amazing throughout the first half of their playoff game, but it was also a great issue later on. They need a powerful linebacker, and Simpson would be a great addition to a relatively inconsistent defense. With the 22nd overall pick, the Baltimore Ravens select Josh Downs. The North Carolina wide receiver has some incredible hands, and despite not being an elite blocker, he could help Lamar Jackson with the passing game if he stays in Baltimore. At number 23, the Vikings select Nolan Smith. In my opinion, he's a borderline top 10 prospect, so if he's available this late, the Vikings should have no hesitation. The edge rusher out of Georgia is a game changer, and Minnesota desperately needs defensive help, so why not? With the 24th overall pick, the Jaguars select Jalen Hyatt. Christian Kirk is a solid number 1 receiver, but giving Trevor Lawrence another weapon who happens to be amazing at flipping the field sounds like a great idea to me. Moving on, the Giants select Devon Witherspoon. With the top receivers of the draft now gone, the Giants must turn their heads to other positions of need. They could use some help at cornerback, and Witherspoon could be a great addition to this roster. Up next, the Cowboys select Broderick Jones 26th overall. The tackle out of Georgia could have an immediate impact in the league, and with the Cowboys O-line being one of their few weaknesses this past season, him going to Dallas makes perfect sense. With the 27th overall pick, the Buffalo Bills select B.J. Ojulari. This defense was amazing until the playoffs arrived, and the only prospect I think they're interested in is Bijan Robinson, who has been taken already. So, turning their heads to defensive star B.J. Ojulari makes complete sense to try and get this defense right back to its prime. At number 28, the Bengals select Michael Mayer. Tight end isn't necessarily their biggest hole, but Mayer is the best T in college, and adding him to an already dangerous offense would make this team a very tough one to beat, if it isn't already. Moving on, the Broncos are taking Anton Harrison. This team had a top 3 defense and a bottom 3 offense last year, so let the D alone and let's get some offensive help. Harrison could help protect Russell Wilson to hopefully help him go back to his Seattle form now that Nathaniel Hackett is gone. The Chiefs then take Parker Washington 30th overall. This right here is a long shot, as I don't think he should get drafted round 1. However, there are not a lot of players available who would fill a hole in KC. Washington could at least help this team to have more options at wide receiver, and I'm pretty sure Mahomes won't complain about getting some more help. With the last pick of the first round, the Eagles ended by drafting Noah Sewell from Oregon. This is one of the most complete teams in the NFL, and linebacker is one of their few weaknesses, if I can call it that way. Sewell could provide some depth as well as some versatility to an already great defense. Anyways, that's all for today. If you want to check out my previous mock draft, it's on screen right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you there.